Nation of Fit in 10, welcome to day 51. And we are officially in the teens in terms of days left. 19 days to go. Still a lot of time to maybe not make mega massive change. Well, yeah, I guess we can still make mega massive change. We can still see a lot of change in nearly 3 weeks left, right? Just like I mentioned that you saw in the beginning. So just get back on the horse if you're not. Get away from all those things that you thought you could add in. Maybe even if you just are convinced, you convince yourself that it was just a little something here or there that may have held you back. All right, I see this in a lot of you. This is common in the middle of the challenge. Get back on the horse, be a little harder on yourself, and watch the results come in, okay? Leading off from yesterday, let me just reread the question here because there's a little more I want to say on this, all right? So just bear with me here. This person writes, I've seen impressive hypertrophy gains in my upper body throughout the program, but my lower body musculature hasn't developed much. I'm guessing I probably need to be more aggressive with my weight and perhaps overly cautious with my lower body exercises. Things like squats and deadlifts. Out of fear of injury, I've had some lower back and knee discomfort, struggling to navigate the limits. How much soreness is safe? I want to be able to do this long term and I don't want to risk injury, but aware that this is probably limiting my progress. Okay, so I'm reading this again and actually I'm realizing that maybe your soreness question is when you're talking about soreness in your joints, like your lower back and your knees, perhaps. Maybe that's what you're referring to. Yesterday when I read this, I was thinking of muscular soreness. So maybe I'll just talk about both of those. But, you know, again, when you're working with, so in this case, be methodical with whatever you're doing. So what do I mean by that is, let's use an example. You're squatting, let's say 3 sets of 10 with, okay, so let's say we normally do like, whatever, 5 sets. Okay, that's like typical. You know, sometimes we do 4, sometimes we do 6, but somewhere around 5 sets. And some of these are build-up sets, okay? But when we get to those end sets, those sets where we're working with a higher weight, so let's just say you do 3 sets of 10 with 75 pounds. And let's just say by the end of your third set of 10, you are at an exertion level of 8 out of 10. All right, so you've got room there to make, to add some intensity. Now, maybe we're gonna add some weight to that. Or maybe it's like, well, could we increase the range of motion in the movement? Could we maybe look at the mechanics of the movement? Maybe your knees are falling inward and we need to work on getting those knees out. Maybe the arch in your foot is collapsing. Maybe we need to put like a band around your ankles. Maybe your hip positioning is off and we need to work on your hip tracking. Whatever. These are all things, maybe we're going too fast on the eccentrics. We can work on polishing off or polishing the movement for you with the same weight. And that will make it more difficult. So for example, going a little bit slower, okay? Or being very, very cognizant of the positioning of the hips as we come down. Or maybe we're gonna squeeze the musculature a little bit more. Or like I said, add a band around the ankles, whatever. All of this is going to help to add intensity to the movement without adding any weight. And it's going to help you to build a better foundation so that you're stronger for future for handling future weights or heavier weights. Now, in terms of the soreness, okay, we don't want to be too sore. It is normal to have some little aches and pains in your knees or perhaps your ankles, your lower back. It shouldn't be debilitating, and you know it should really be acute. This should not be something that carries on for a long time, right? This should not be chronic by any means. So, you know, learn to obviously know, you're obviously going to know the difference between that if your knees are continually bugging you or whatever. And then at that point, if it is an ongoing issue, then we need to revisit the mechanics of the exercise and see what's going on there. But coming back to the weight, let's say the weight example on your squats. So if you can really get the most out of that 75 pounds for 3 sets of 10, then maybe we can work on, maybe let's add some reps to it, you know, work on getting whatever 3 sets of 12. That's just one route we can go. And then once we get to 3 sets of 12 with 75, maybe that's a bit high, but let's just go with that example. We could say, let's bump it to 85 pounds, but let's work on 3 sets of 7. So now we've increased the load a decent amount, more than a decent amount, that's more than 10%. And, but we've reduced the reps. So now the body feels more of that load, but we don't have to do as much volume, okay? And now we can work on building up some volume with that new heavier weight. And this allows the body to adapt over time to that weight, gets more and more used to it, you get stronger, you know, the adaptation process happens over and over again with that same weight. We increase the volume. Once we get that volume up to a certain point, we do the whole thing again. We add some more weight, we drop that volume down, and we keep going through that cycle. Okay, but the whole point is you're gonna have to note this down, right? You're gonna have to write it down. And listen to your body. Always listen to your body. If it's a day where you feel like you need to back off, then just back off. Likewise, if it's a day where you feel like you can push things a bit more, you know, go ahead. But, you know, again, we need to be smart and methodical with the training program, right? Which I mentioned yesterday is different than going to the gym and just working out. Working out is going to the gym and just, you know, pushing yourself hard and feeling like you walk out of there like you had a workout. Like, I had a really good workout because I feel like I'm exhausted. That is just working out. That is not training with purpose. And those are two different things. And there's nothing wrong with working out, okay? But if you have a purpose or a goal in mind, then you need to be more methodical, and you need to back off sometimes, and you need to push it other times. All right, new question here. Could you please comment on long-term consequences of calorie deficit in someone like myself with relatively low body fat? Should I be concerned with the effects of thyroid function, metabolism, and possibly rebounding? Accelerated fat gain in maintenance. I've heard the reference to diet cycling, reverse dieting, and bodybuilding culture, and not sure if this would apply to me or whether it's supposed to be assigned, or whether it's supported by scientific evidence. Okay, so so the long and short of it when it comes to dieting, again, coming from me especially, you're following some methodology is going to help you over the long term. You know that I don't like any of this. Let's cross our fingers and close our eyes and let's randomly do stuff and make it extreme and hopefully everything works out and I lose weight. That is not a solution, but that's what most people do. What you want to do with your diet is to be methodical, and for example, in this challenge, everybody's got a certain number of calories and macronutrients. Now, you know, is it perfect? Of course, I'm not going to say it's perfect for you, but it is a reasonable estimate, and it is all catered to you based on, you know, things like your sex, your age, your lean body mass, whether you're menopausal, etc. Anyways, let's not get too much into the weeds here, but basically, the methodology that I would use for most people is this undulation process of digging for a while, that is going through some sort of calorie deficit, and then reintroducing calories, so taking your calories back up. So there's a phase where we're cutting down on fat perhaps, and maybe we can't really focus too much on muscle gain because we're in a deficit and we're just not going to make as much of a gain in a deficit in terms of strength and muscle hypertrophy. And then we go through a phase where and that's also a stress on the body, by the way. Then we go through a phase where we take that stress off the body, we refeed a little bit. Maybe we focus on just more maintenance, maybe a little bit of fat gain. There's nothing wrong with that, especially if you're very low body fat. A little bit of fat gain, but we work on trying to make the body more energy inefficient, because that's what we want. And then we take the calories up, maybe a little bit higher than what we started last time. And then we start to do a phase of cutting again, or however you want to term it, a phase of deficit again. Now, in the case of this person that wrote me this, I've actually just increased this person's calories over time. This person is still losing body fat. So, you know, generally you can get away with this more so when you are leaner. And part of that process is probably because this person is, I mean, there could be several reasons, but you know, generally when you're working with somebody who's leaner, they tend to, or their bodies are able to better deal with sugar. Okay, generally as you get leaner, your body becomes more insulin sensitive in the right way. Okay, insulin sensitive is used in two different ways, in a bad way and a good way. But basically your muscles are more insulin sensitive. Your muscles have a bit greater uptake to sugar, and your body needs to produce less insulin to shuttle sugar around the body. And like I said, get it to the muscles, not fat. How am I doing here? 10 minutes. So, okay, there's a lot more I have to say on this. So, in your case specifically, small changes. Well, actually, I would say that for everybody, small changes. In your case specifically, we are still exploring, because your calories have gone up. You've still lost body fat, which means your body can handle some more calories. You know, again, depending on your goals. But to me, obviously, you've mentioned muscle hypertrophy. We can feed you more if you can handle eating more. Okay. All right, let me leave it there. I'll come back to this tomorrow. We'll talk more about reverse dieting, etc. Let's get to the message of the day. Compare what you want with what you actually do. Compare what you want with what you actually do, and this is why journaling everything is so important. And because you have a record of everything you're doing, record in terms of exercise, record in terms of what you're eating, then you know where you stand. If you go by this, especially over weeks or months, and you think you have a good record of what you've been doing, I'm telling you, you do not. You don't. And you can tell me, you know, till your heart's content that you do, but I know you don't. And, you know, again, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just saying. Nobody knows. If you ask me what I ate, you know, exactly what I ate 3 weeks ago to the day, I don't quite remember exactly. I have a good idea, but I don't know exactly. But I have a journal, and I can tell you exactly where it is, or exactly what I had. So, you know, this is really, really important, especially if you don't have those habits built up, especially if you are not doing any food planning and etc. Okay, so I'm getting a little bit into the weeds here, but coming back to just what we talked about throughout this specific video, being methodical about things is going to be very, very helpful. If you're serious about your body composition, health, maybe not so much. You know, we could just work on making good choices every day, making sure, you know, we work out, and that's fine. But if you are very serious about, okay, I have certain goals I want to set in terms of where I would like, you know, my body fat to be, or maybe a certain amount of fat I'd like to lose, or I'd like to get my strength to here, you need to be methodical. You got to get away from this, right? Got to get away from this. No throwing darts in the dark, okay? And I'm telling you, you will, you need this reflection part. You need to be able to look at something. You need to have a plan of where you're going to go. And then you need to also, the reflection part, your history, to know exactly what you've been doing. Because if your history is not matching what you're supposed to be doing, then that allows us to make a better evaluation of how to you know, adjust your plan going forward, right? So be honest with yourself and compare what you want with what in reality you're doing, right? So anyways, I'll leave it there. Positive energy, positive vibes, believe in yourself, and for the love of God, give some gratitude, and I'll talk to you all tomorrow.